So what would you say is the key to revival, especially in our generation today?
Hunger, desperation.
Mm,
We will not be revived until we realize something is terribly wrong.
mm,
If you think of some of the churches that seem to be the happening churches in the first century, Laodicea, Jesus says, "You say I'm rich, increased in wealth, have need of nothing." That's what they thought. They must have been outwardly successful. He said, "But you're wretched, pitiful, poor, blind, and naked."
wow.
Sardis, he says, "You have a reputation for being alive, yet you're dead."
Wow.
So as long as we're patting ourselves on the back and congratulating ourselves and look at our great building, look at our great numbers and look at our great record and all this, we'll never have revival. When we get desperate, when we get hungry, when we realize that something is terribly, terribly wrong and terribly missing. Thank God there are healthy churches in America, but
Mhm.
so much of American Christianity is really compromised, is really carnal, is sold out to the spirit of the age,
Wow.
does not understand some of the fundamentals of take up your cross, leave everything, follow me. And we need an awakening. We need a massive awakening in society, but it begins with revival in the church. And here, I'll just give you a scenario, okay? Right now, we're in the deepest divisions I've ever known in my lifetime. I'm 65.
Wow.
In the aftermath of the presidential elections and everything that's happened through 2020, right? Well, it's in a crisis time like this that people begin to look up and pray, that people begin to realize, okay, we're hurting. Something's terribly messed up and there's no earthly solution, because we can always push a button and make things happen. If I could just use a credit card and accumulate a little debt, but, use a credit card to pay for my groceries, no big deal. But if I'm starving and I have no money and it's cash only, then I'm already saying, God, I need help.
Yeah.
So make that same application spiritually. This is obviously a very controversial subject, but so many prophetic voices proclaim that Donald Trump would win a second consecutive term. Okay, let's say that on January 20th, Joe Biden is inaugurated. What's going to happen? There's going to be a spiritual crisis
Big time.
in the lives of many people. Well, this can all be redeemed. This can be redeemed in that people realize something's wrong, something's missing. It takes that level of, oh my God, what is happening, to awaken us. And then we realize that our only hope is visitation. And that becomes the pursuit. So you still do what you know how to do day by day. You still try to love your neighbor, win the lost, make disciples. Do what you do every day, but you recognize that we're in a spiritual drought, that people are dying, and without a fresh outpouring from heaven, we're not going to make it. And it's that holy desperation. In fact, if you want to listen to a sermon of mine, just look for my name and Holy Desperation on YouTube.
Definitely going to watch that.
That's from the Brownsville Revival in 98. And then watch the response to that, the altar call. That's the type of hunger that brings in a move of God.
Wow. That's very powerful. Thank you for that. I can see that my generation is in desperate need, but we don't know that we're in desperate need of revival.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Because I was born in 1994, so I'm 26 years old, and I've realized that it's almost like everyone in my generation, there's a word called clout, which means attention. And that's just what everybody wants. So even when it comes to Christianity, we just want to look cool. We want to look like the cool church. We want to look like Jesus is fun, come join. Like we're not actually truly desiring Jesus for all that he is. And I think that's very problematic. So I really want to thank you for just breaking down what revival is and actually what happened in Brownsville Revival, because I think we need that type of revival today.
Yeah, and let's think of this. In many ways, the God of Christianity, the God of the Bible, is despised in much of our culture. Some of that is because of the hypocrisy of the church. We brought it on ourselves. Some of it is because of the popularity of LGBT activism. And hey, I've got a gay friend. Are you telling me that Billy is going to hell? So, the young people especially are going to side with their friends, obviously, and those that they feel are oppressed and rejected. And to the extent the church has not walked in love in that regard, then it only adds to it. And then the Bible is mocked. The rise of new atheism and things has produced a perfect storm. Josh McDowell said some years ago that the objections he used to run into with college-age kids, he's now running into with 12 and 13-year-olds.
Wow.
And the problem, of course, is a 12 and 13-year-old is going to be much more able to just be influenced by a meme or repeat something on Snapchat or some little tweet line than they are going to be able to really think through an issue. So what's the solution? Obviously, good apologetics to reach young people, good answers, but an encounter with God is the real solution.
Most definitely.
Yes, let's have answers. Yes, let's say, hey, great questions. I'm glad you're asking questions. We've got answers. Don't be intimidated by the questions. But revival in its heart essence is a season of unusual divine visitation. And just like in the book of Job, I wrote a commentary on Job and lived with the book for so many years. It doesn't answer a lot of questions. What it does ultimately is bring you into an encounter with God. And when you have that encounter with God, a lot of the questions disappear. So we must have a fresh move for this younger generation. We can't just expect them to follow their parents' faith. And now, especially to the degree that white evangelicals are associated with Donald Trump, and Donald Trump is such a divisive figure, and many of us are more associated with Trump than with Jesus, it creates another set of problems.
Yeah.
So the answer, again, yes, we have to walk in love. We have to have answers for questions, but there has to be such a presence of God that people come in ready to mock, and they end up on their faces weeping and repenting.
Wow.